And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. As you can see from the title of this video, it's one of the questions I've heard most often recently is a lot of people, to be honest with you, have made a lot of money very recently in Pokemon, especially when it comes to their modern investments. And in fact, if you haven't made money recently in modern investments, I have no clue at this point what you could be doing wrong because it becomes almost damn near impossible unless you are the one person out there who is the absolute best at timing, only buying cards at their highest of highs and never at the run up. So, especially with a lot of these modern alt arts, we saw almost, it's crazy to say, every modern alt art is pretty much running up right now. Shout out to my good friend Mr. Daniel Phantom. Had a great video today showing alt art prices, and he shows like the year charts, and all the year charts were pretty much back to the all-time highs on almost all like alt art cards. Modern Pokemon, especially sealed product, everything is going crazy right now. Brilliant Stars, after it went out of stock on Pokemon Center, we saw a $25 jump overnight. We're still looking at pretty decent quantity listings on TCG Player, so it's holding it back a little bit. Lost Origins, right after it went out of stock on PokemonCenter.com, we saw something very similar happen. Prices really spiked really quickly. Fusion Strike, Chillin' Rain. We're not even going to talk about Evolving Skies, but even call it the more lackluster sets. Sword and Shield base, Rebel Clash. The only ones you're kind of going to be a little stagnant on is maybe Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, maybe Battle Styles, some specialty sets, Shine and Fates. But we're getting into the point where those sets are becoming the minority of performers in Sword and Shield, and the majority of performers are all doing fantastic right now. So that's the weird timeline we're at. And the question we're going to try to answer in today's video is, when's really the best time to sell some of these? And shout out to my good friend out there, Mr. Dan Catch'em Collectibles, not to be confused with Daniel Phantom, Mr. Daniel Catch'em Collectibles. But, you know, Dan will be the first one to tell you he's a fence sitter. Not only is he a fence sitter, he's also knows how to sleep on a fence. He said the secret to sleeping on a fence is you sleep face down with the stake of the fence post right in your mouth. That's the secret way to sleep on a fence. But we're actually going to try not to sit on the fence and really talk about it. And a little bit of housekeeping too at the beginning of this video before we get into actual meat of this video. One, if you guys do not know, we are about 15 hours away from Nat Turner, the CEO of Collectors. Collectors is the parent company of PSA. He will be on this channel, so if you guys don't know what 15 hours about from the time recording this video, so 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, yes, Nat Turner will be on the channel, and we're going to be doing a pretty in-depth conversation talking about the eBay Vault. There's so many questions right now I have about the eBay Vault, and this will definitely be one of those interviews where we're going to get a lot of information that a lot of people have been really waiting on. And I'm super excited for it, and I'm super grateful that Nat is willing to, you know, not just have been on this channel one time in the past. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch that interview, I recommend you going back and watching that Nat interview. And what I'll do actually is, after this video is over, I will pin that video in the top comment. I'll pin a comment in the description of this, or in the comments section if you want to go back. I recommend watching that video first so you could kind of get a little bit of a feeling of who Nat is as a person, his type of like business, like just overall like acumen as a CEO. But it's going to be a good one, and there's going to be some, to be honest with you, I'm going to say there's going to be a ton of new information, because the information we truly know about the PSA eBay acquisition, the transfer of gold and all that, like everything we know is very surface level at this point, and a lot of the information we know has just been through like more or less the press release or that initial information that was released by eBay saying that this deal even happened. So we're going to get a lot of the behind the scenes on it. I'm super excited for that. And then if we have time, there's a lot of other questions I want to ask Nat just about PSA, and based off of our last interview, I have a good feeling that this one's going to even top that one. So I'm super excited for it. So again, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday. That is May 6th at, yeah, like I said, 1:30. Definitely tune in for that. I'll probably put some community post up. I'll probably do an Instagram post. I'll try my best to like make sure everyone knows that that's happening. And then the second thing, the second little uh, thing we got to wrap up is, if you guys don't know, on Friday, what was Friday? Friday, May 10th, we are going to be doing a MetaZoo Kickstarter booster box break on this channel. I still have packs available. If you look in the description of this video, the very first link is a link to that eBay page to pick up packs. You could either have them shipped sealed to you or have them open up real time on the live stream. The one and only Mr. Basic Trainer himself will be joining us for that stream, so that will be a lot of fun. So yeah, those are the two little things I just had the touch base on, the Nat Turner interview and then the MetaZoo Kickstarter meme box break. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So now that we got that stuff out of the way, topic of this video: when is the best time to sell your modern Pokemon investments? I'm going to leave you guys I'm going to start it off with a good quote, and it's always been true. So the first thing I should say is, there's never been anybody in history who ever went broke taking profits. So I want you guys to think about that comment. No one has ever gone broke taking profits. Now, the tough part of that conversation is, and especially I think a lot of people are running into this right now, is if you're watching this channel, if you really love Pokemon, while you might consider yourself a flipper or an investor, probably at the end of the day, you're also a collector. And if, because you are inherently a collector and you probably were born with whatever that collector gene is and it's encoded into your DNA, you will find it becomes what sometimes it could feel like an impossible thing, and that's just to sell your collection. Even though you purchased it with the mindset of, this is a investment, I am doing this strictly for investment purposes, the second you actually become the owner of that and you actually acquire that product and that product is sitting in your hands, you're like, I don't want to sell this anymore. And that is, I think, just an underlying truth to this hobby. And I think the best way to just know right now is when's the best time to sell is, unfortunately, I think a lot of this modern stuff is going to continue the rise in price in the near term. And I think there's probably a lot of people are in that same boat right now. And in fact, a lot of this modern stuff, I still think, not only is it a good time just to not sell, but it's also a good time to keep buying. I know that sounds crazy right now because everything we're doing right now, we're on the uphill trajectory for a lot of this stuff. But when it comes time to sell, you got to just look at your inventory, look at what you have, and then you're going to have to just start going through your inventory on an individual, either card by card basis or a product by product basis. And you have to look at it. You're going to have to start to look at a lot of this stuff and say, do I think that a lot of the short-term gains in some of these products have already been realized? Or do I believe that some of the gains in some of this product still has a ways to run? And that is something that you're going to have to decide on, like, on a personal basis. I'll give you an example. Like Brilliant Stars, I'm not selling any sealed Brilliant Stars product right now, even though it's no longer available on Pokemon Center. We saw that quick run up, $25. I'm now sitting back and waiting for a little bit more inventory to dry up, especially like some of the big sellers on TCG Player, waiting for that product to, dry up. And then right now, I have so much Brilliant Stars, I have so much Lost Origin that I'm going to be selling gradually on the way up. Snowy, appreciate the comment. He says, love you, PK. Love you too, Snowy. Appreciate it. But for a product like that, I'm going to be selling a little bit as it goes up. So like my first price point I have in mind for Brilliant Stars is I'm going to offload a little bit at $250. Then when it hits $300, $350, which I think will happen in a relatively short amount of time in comparison to the history of this hobby, and as it starts to hit those other price points, I'm going to start to offload a little bit of it more and more. And at the end of the day, where I am is I'm a collector. So all I really truly need in my personal collection is one of every booster box. That's all I need. Now, I'm not going to be dumping all this, and the problem is I have so much money tied up in some of these products that in order for me to even be able to interact with this hobby, and by interacting I mean to be able to interact with this hobby from the investing side, I need to free up some cash. Because right now I went from a period not too long ago where I was very like e-liquid. Then I sold a lot of stuff to become liquid. And then there has been so many buying opportunities that have happened realistically within the last 3-4 months that again I have found myself being very, very e-liquid again. So now I want to start to try to move some of my money and to become more liquid. And a lot of these alt arts too, I was very lucky. Like, I graded a few alt arts just to be like PC personal tens. I was kind of putting them away. And now I'm looking at some of these alt art prices. I'm like, I'm struggling to keep some of these, you know, tens because I'm looking at the prices some of them are selling for. And price increases have gone so crazy so recently. Even on the higher end of Sword and Shield, the Guarantina V from Lost Origin, crazy, crazy price upticks. The Moonbryon is getting close to its all-time high sales again. I think Mr. James from ZNG Emporium just posted a photo of he has a Moonbryon PSA 10 currently up at auction selling. It was already up to like $1,300 bid. I mean, that was a PSA 10 that we saw originally. The real early ones sold for 1,500. Then eventually we saw a lot of supply hit the market when people were truly actively opening up Evolving Skies. And then once we saw a huge dump of those cards hit the market, we saw prices for those PSA 10s retrace all the way down to between $600 and $700. And then gradually we started to watch something very, very amazing happen. We started to see the demand for that card be so strong that I was able to buck the trend of way more being graded into the population because of that popularity, and we watch something fantastic and magical happen. And that was the point where a lot of people start to really take notice and saying something crazy has happened in this Pokemon hobby. But we started to watch that Moonbryon really start to tick up until eventually, it went from the lows of 600-700 to 800, and then the lows started being 900, to then we started seeing the PSA 10 sell for $1,000 till now. We're starting to see the raw cards on TCG Player, the listings for $1,000, which just shows you like the strength of this hobby, but more importantly, the strength of that card. But one of the things about Evolving Skies, and one of the things that I've talked about relatively recently, talking mainly about Brilliant Stars, talking about a lot of the single prices for Brilliant Stars, is people are not really opening up Brilliant Stars like they were when it was readily available on store shelves. And I told you, the majority of this hobby are not people deep down the rabbit hole. They're not people watching hour-long lives. The average person is a person walking into their local Walmarts or Target, and they're picking up the most modern set that is on the shelves. And the most modern set that is currently sitting on the shelves is not Brilliant Stars. It's not Evolving Skies. It's going to be your most current Scarlet and Violet sets. Like, that's what's going to be on the shelves. So, and especially now with Twilight Masquerade right around the corner, that's going to be released pretty soon. Looks like that's going to actually be a pretty awesome set. I know a lot of people are kind of down on Twilight Masquerade right now, but I did a video just going through the set list and talking about some of the cards that I think are going to be phenomenal. I think it's a really, really good, solid set, but, it's a super new set, so it's super early on, but, like, when you start to think, it's like, we're getting pretty deep into Scarlet and Violet. And Sword and Shield is just becoming further and further away in that rearview mirror. So, where my recommendation for a lot of people right now is just best time to sell is, just do an inventory of your collection. And if you see some stuff that you feel is probably going to stagnate for a while and you want to free up that money and start to dump that money into other things which you think now will be the next big performer, I recommend you doing that. And especially if you're finding yourself being very illiquid, what I'm running into at this point is starting to free up cash to just become more liquid too, potentially. One of the things that I've seen, probably one of the biggest, I wouldn't say complaints, but one of the biggest, like, areas where people have kind of like shit on other people is talking about the 2020 boom, because there was a lot of cards in 2020 that went parabolic in price. Some cards in 2020 saw all-time highs that still to this day, we haven't seen some cards make it back to their 2020 highs. And a lot of people made the argument to people, it's like, why didn't you sell everything? And the same conversation that was happening in 2020 is the same conversation that's got to be happening right now. It's just people, you find yourself being a collector at heart. So it becomes really, really hard to sell some of this stuff. And one of the big conversations that were had in 2020 was, what if this is not the top? What if a lot of these prices are in fact just the middle of that run up? Or what if we're still like in a low point and prices can 2x, 3x from this point? And that is the hardest question. That is the question that people are going to find themselves having. And it's funny too, because I'm watching it. The same people who like gave a lot of people shit for not selling in 2020, those same people that gave people shit, I'm finding them literally being in the exact same situation today as those people were in 2020. And I just think it's funny how this hobby just has this weird way, and it's something I've talked about a million times now. History has a way, history has a funny way of repeating itself. So we just went around in a big circle from 2020, all the people talking shit saying I can't believe everybody didn't sell their products, till eventually they re-entered the hobby around that timeline. They saw all the price increases, they saw some price decreases, they have been buying stuff, and then next thing they know, they're right where that person was. Now they're looking at all their inventory, all their collection, and going, I don't know if now's a good time to sell. What if we're just at the start of this hype period? What if this is just the beginning? Do I want to sell my Fusion Strike booster box at $250? Or do I think it's going to be a $500 booster box? I just think it's funny how that stuff works out. And in a way, you could call it maybe karma or whatever you want to call it. But it's something. It's interesting, right? So, yeah. Anyways, also, I started putting out some shorts. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch that. Be careful what, I think it's like Wednesday. Like a bunch of shorts are going to drop one day, and kind of you could ignore them, but it's going to be a lot that drop in a single day. But just don't pay too much mind to it. Real quick, I'm going to scroll up to the top of the chat, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. But more importantly, if you have any questions that you would like me to ask Nat Turner on tomorrow's interview, especially if there's questions you're interested about, whether it's about PSA, the eBay vault, or keep in mind, like, they have WADA. PSA is starting to, they're really starting to get into a lot of stuff too. I think a lot of people are having the conversation too with the signature market, especially for Pokemon. If you guys, let me know what you want to hear. Let me know down in the comments of this video, or you could write it real time. I got a sheet of paper right here. Obviously, Nat's time is extremely valuable just to get. There's always a part of me that is like, okay, because tomorrow hasn't happened yet, I'm still ready for me to wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning and seeing an email from Nat's administrative assistant saying that the meeting's canceled. But as of right now, we're still on for 1:30. It was originally scheduled for 4, then it got moved to 1:30, but it hasn't been canceled yet. The first time he came on my channel, he did cancel, and ironically, the day he canceled was also the same day that PSA graded that Lord of the Rings 1/1 card, and I never even remembered to ask him about that card during the live. If we do have time and the chat's going really well, I do kind of want to ask him about the 1/1 Lord of the Rings card, but see, the problem is that information is so outdated right now. But what I wanted to know about that 1/1 card was, did they grade that card for free? Because the amount of like free advertisement and the free publicity that PSA got for grading that 1/1 ring card has to have some sort of monetary value associated to it, unless PSA was just doing PSA things and they're like, nope, it's a very expensive card, get hit with that $10,000 like upgrade fee. And then I also want to talk to Nat. I got to write, yeah. I mean, I'm already going to talk to him, but ask Nat about upcharges and just kind of like what his thought process is. Yeah, but there's just so many eBay vault questions I got to ask. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent right now. Snowy, see you. We're first in the chat, followed by the God tier mod himself, #1 mod in the game, Mr. Drew. Drew, good to see you, buddy. Jimbo Slice, good to see you. Basic Trainer with the advice of the day. He says, sell your house and buy MetaZoo. Snowy said, guaranteeing a V is almost $1,000. I really want to sell my alt arts, but I love looking at them so much. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if I made this video a few months ago, maybe a lot of people would have. Well, see, nah. A few months ago, all the prices were really, on the downturn for a lot of these altarts. And then you've looked at the recent charts. There's a reason why they've all been able to bounce up so much. So, I do wonder if, obviously, there's going to be sellers every day of these cards. Whether you're the seller or not, there will be somebody out there selling those cards. And I am curious if, like, some people are looking at some of the prices that they sold some of these cards at, and maybe they're kicking themselves. But like I said, there's also that old saying, and it's one that I'm going to repeat again: no one ever went broke taking profits. The problem is, you know, I feel like some people are too much on the extremes as well. So what I mean by people are too much on the extremes is there are some people out there will actually look at the cards, they will look at their collection, and they'll make informed selling decisions. But then I think that there's other people out there that are maybe call it overreactionary. So they'll see what the market's doing, and then they'll be overreactionary where they'll just sell everything. Where even things that they really, really wanted to be part of their PC, they'll sell that. And then the problem is when things keep going up, yeah, they're left with money. But if they really wanted those items as part of their personal collection, now they're going to have to, at some point in the future, in order to put that back into their collection, there's a pretty high likelihood that they're going to have to pick that product up at a higher price. We saw that happen with a lot of people, especially when it came to Evolving Skies. There was a lot of people that sold Evolving Skies very, very early on, and then prices just kept going up, and then they ended up buying back into Evolving Skies at very, very high dollar amounts. But if they sold Evolving Skies and they're able to turn and burn that money in like the very near term, that's great. But what also happens is sometimes people will sell their most liquid items. Again, Evolving Skies, super liquid. A product like sealed Evolving Skies, whether it's 3-pack blisters, check lane blisters, booster boxes, ETBs, single packs, whatever that market price is for those, you're probably going to get as close to market as any item in this hobby, and that's even at auction. If you throw up any sealed Evolving Skies product, I wouldn't be surprised if you're getting 95% plus of market value at auction. I'm not talking about just being patient with a buy it now item. I'm talking about at auction. Like, that is as liquid as you get of any product in this hobby, where you at auction you could get potential realized prices of 95%. In most hobbies, a sentence like that would be preposterous, would be ridiculous to say that out loud, that at auction you could get probably realized prices of 95% of market value. But in this hobby, in Pokemon, especially a set like Evolving Skies, that is very, very much a reality. And it just shows you the strength of this market, where a sentence like that could even be possible. And I've talked about it before. People in this hobby, myself included, we are constantly spoiled with how rewarding Pokemon is and how forgiving Pokemon is. And, shout out, I saw Alpha Investments video earlier today. It had like a 40-minute video just talking about Pokemon just being in this crazy bull market right now. And it's really, really hard to look at what's going on with a lot of product and say that that is not a true statement. We are seeing it. I'm seeing it. So it just is what it is. So Basic Trainer, so earlier today, Basic sent me an Instagram message, showed me that Mr. Mike Waddell, the original founder of MetaZoo, came back to MetaZoo. He now has control of all MetaZoo socials again. So Basic Trainer, he's really got a lot in in that MetaZoo bag. So, let's see. So Snowy says, wow, that's literally me right now. I don't want to sell my 8K worth of cards, man. Yeah, it's tough. IDK High says, hey PK, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go lately. Oh, that's interesting. He goes, I've been enjoying it, which I used to think was really dumb. It's a lot of people that I talk to, I shouldn't even say a lot of people. It's like most people that I talk to, especially in this community, all downloaded Pokemon Go, especially in the 2016 timeline. Everybody was really into Pokemon Go. And then there was a lot of people dropped off. And then obviously you have a lot of people stuck with Pokemon Go and definitely don't play it at 2016 levels where it's just encompassing their entire day and they just can't wait to play the game. And then people really became more casual players. But very, very rarely do I see comments like yours, IDK, where people have gone back to Pokemon Go. It's usually people were there at the beginning, they dropped off, they left, and then the casual person. So to see you getting back in the Pokemon Go is pretty awesome that you're doing that. And I'm one of those people where I was really into Pokemon Go in that 2016 timeline. I remember going to the beach, and then the beach where I grew up, we had like a pretty decent sized boardwalk. And then along that boardwalk was a ton of different Pokestops. So, and I just remember like the crazy groups of people. And my wife didn't play the game, but she would come. I don't even, she wasn't even my wife at the time. She was just my girlfriend at the time. But she would come and, we'd be walking our dogs, but, I'd be looking at my phone and running back and forth, and my battery would be overheating because it was like my older phone at the time. And I remember getting like it was like a little blue extended battery. I would charge it my phone. So I was really in the Pokemon Go, but like when I stopped playing Pokemon Go, it was cold turkey. Like just one day I was like, okay, I'm tired of playing this. And the problem really for me with Pokemon Go was I wasn't able to just play it when I was like laying on my couch at home at the end of the day. In order for me to like really be engaging in Pokemon Go, I had to be somewhere. I had to be walking around. It just got too much for me. And that was like one of the things I always felt that Pokemon really missed the opportunity. I think their entire structure of Pokemon Go would have been really, really good. But all they really needed was like a 2D style play of like a even very low quality, like a Pokemon red or blue or yellow style game where the Pokemon that you catch in real life and you level up in real life, those could be still played in the game, so it at least give you something to do at home. But unfortunately, Pokemon Go, that just wasn't the way it was designed to have like an actual interactive world within it where you didn't have to be worried about other people. So Katie Lowen said, I'm late. What up? Katie, welcome back. Welcome back from Italy. Um, let's see. Snick Hop says, if you wait too long, like 20 years from now, and barely anyone is in the hobby anymore, then your alt arts will be close to worthless. I strongly disagree with that statement. 20 years from now, nobody will be in the hobby anymore. I think it will actually be a crazy opposite. I think there will be a lot of people here in 20 years from now. And I can't wait for 20 years to be. I mean, I can wait because it's kind of sad to think about how old I will be in 20 years from now. I'll be getting way closer to the twilight of my life and then even call it the middle that I guess I am right now. Midlife crisis, here we come. But in 20 years from now, I'm excited to see what the hobby could look like. And at that point, Pokemon now being cross-generational, you're going to have multiple generations. You're going to have people that are going to be great-grandparents in 20 years from now that have been around in Pokemon. And, one of my favorite quotes from Gary King Pokemon is, Gary says, even if today they stop printing Pokemon cards and there wasn't, so tomorrow, there's never a single pack of Pokemon cards printed ever again, meaning tomorrow it's over. Gary always said, and I believe him with this statement, was even if no more packs are printed, we still have 20 years left in the hobby. And that is with a dead TCG. Pokemon is so strong that it will put you out 20 years with no new cards. But with the way Pokemon does stuff, the way Pokemon keeps printing stuff, the way people are valuing cards, the way people are really looking at Pokemon, especially the trading cards, from that collectability aspect and that investability aspect, the way people's mindsets are truly, truly changing for a lot of that stuff, I think 20 years from now is a super bright future. So I don't believe that alt arts will be close to worthless at that point. Now, I do not believe alt arts can keep doing the price trajectory they're doing, because if they keep doubling in price over the compounding over 20 years, that puts cards in the 5-figure, 10,000, 100,000 range. We're probably not going to get there. There's definitely going to be a point within the next 20 years that a lot of this stuff has to cool off. There has to be a cooling off period for a lot of this stuff, because if not, then these prices for stuff is just going to go parabolic and be astronomical. So Tap said, without giving exact numbers, English Moon Brown going to 900 and booster boxes being like 650. I'm curious why Japanese Moon Brown is 1500, why EV Heroes booster boxes 430. Yeah, don't follow the Japanese market enough to really understand like the differences and stuff like that. Um, let's see. Ooh, lagging, dropping some frames as always. Thanks a lot, internet. Uh, Rattle, we got Rattle in the chat. Good to see you, Rattle. Namp90, good to see you, Namp. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Pariah Pokemon says, Pariah said, PK, it's old news, but how do you feel about Rusty buying the pre-release Raichu from Dave Persons? I love that Rusty bought the pre-release Raichu. I talked about it before. Rusty got very, very, very lucky. Rusty bought the only real pre-release Raichu, in my opinion. So Rusty's copy, while it is a lower grade, it is the Mike Boozer copy. So that Mike Boozer copy has more provenance that goes along with it. When people refer to the pre-release Raichu, that is the copy that they're referring to. The one that Dave holds that was found in some former WotC employee's binder that now works at Nintendo and was found in an office, nobody knows that story. So I'm very, very happy for Rusty, and I think Rusty, he won on that trade, hands down. What that card, that pre-release Raichu could be worth, I think it's easily valued at the same price of like an Illustrator Pikachu. And in fact, knowing how many Illustrator Pikachus are hitting the market every day, it's like almost every day we see more and more Illustrator Pikachus hit in the market. So Rusty's pre-release Raichu, I think, is going to very, very soon be valued more than like Illustrator Pikachu and a PSA 9. Now, the Logan Paul 10 copy, even though we'll never see the back of it because he's not dumb enough to show everybody the back, because it's not a 10. It's probably one of the most beat up 9 copies that exists. But I think there will come a point where the pre-release Raichu definitely outpaces the price of an Illustrator and a 9. And the fact that Rusty has a Mike Boucher copy and that is the real copy, a lot of people, I'm not the lone man. I'm not the single person standing on the island all alone when we say that Rusty's is a real copy. So to answer Wes Bragg's question, I'm super happy for Rusty. And if I had to pick one person in this entire hobby, besides myself, to own that card, because I'm a Raichu fan, but if I could pick one person to own that card, it would be Rusty. And I wish Rusty nothing but the best with that card. And I think, I don't think, I almost, yeah, I'm going to say I think because I can't certainly know, but there's no way Rusty loses on that card either, in my opinion. I think it's just too ingrained in this hobby. Now, the 8 copy, take or leave it, I'm leaving that. Like, I don't care about that second copy, don't care about the backstory. I care about what I consider to be the real pre-release Raichu. And if you polled anybody truly in the know of this hobby and asked them which one is the real pre-release Raichu, every single person who's truly in the know will tell you that Rusty's copy is the real one. And big shout out to Joe, Echo Base Collectibles. Joe came on this channel years ago, and one of the things Joe talks about was being at Worlds, Mike Bouger being there, flipping through his binder, and Joe saw that exact pre-release Raichu. That exact Mike Bouger copy was the one that Joe saw, the one that everyone talked about, the ones that was on all the forums, was, is, and will always be Rusty's copy now. And for that is awesome. So to answer your question again, Wes Bragg, definitely something, man. Fresh Tats, great comment. He goes, if MetaZoo has drama and no one's listening, is it really drama? Fresh Tats, that is the trading card equivalent of if a tree fall in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? It's the same thing, but with MetaZoo. I love it. I'm going to read it again because it was so well done. If MetaZoo has drama and no one's listening, is it really drama? Great. Fresh Tats, that's a #1 comment of the day. Funny. Casey said, would you sell Evolving Skies ETBs or 3-pack blisters now or wait? That's a good question. How bad do you need the money? So, if there's one set that I am not selling right now, it is Evolving Skies. I would rather sell every other single Sword and Shield set before I would sell Evolving Skies right now today. I think Evolving Skies, seeing what the Moonbreon is doing, I think Evolving Skies booster boxes are going to hit $1,000 pretty quick. So, especially when you talk about the 3-pack blisters. So now the 3-pack blisters is tough because, you know, they're definitely not created equal. So you have the 1 3-pack blister, which has the Umbreon, and then I believe that the other Evolving Skies 3-pack blister is like the Ice Q, I want to say. Either one. But it doesn't matter. Like the Umbreon 3-pack blister promo, super strong. Like, with what that thing is selling for in a 10, I could see the price of those blisters doubling soon. You know? So, I just see too much price increase right now in Evolving Skies. Now, as for ETBs, I would rather move out of my positions of... It's always good, because there's the 2 art sets for Evolving Skies, I recommend you keeping one of each art set, especially if you're just a collector at heart. But if you have extra Evolving Skies ETBs, I would definitely be moving out of those ETBs, because unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot of products of Evolving Skies that perform way better than those ETBs. So if I was selling anything, it would be the Evolving Skies ETBs, and I'm keeping the 3-pack blisters. Let's see. Wes Bragg says, having sealed product is always smart. It's just hard for him not to open. Yes. BB, first time I made a PK live in a long while. Hi, y'all. BB, good to see you, buddy. So IDK says, actually, I never played Pokemon Go in 2016. He just downloaded it last summer for the first time. Wow, that's awesome, man. Oh no, jump to the bottom. Can't stop, won't stop. Let's see. Pokemon Classic says PK is vintage. Am I getting this? I feel like I'm getting vintage at this point. Every day, I am getting older, and I'm just realizing it too. I brought my kid. They have like this steam train in a town kind of near me, and they do Thomas the Train there. So we brought our kids there, and you know, I was with a bunch of my friends. They had their kids. All our kids are the same age. But as I was there looking at all the parents around me, I realized, I was like, oh my God, it's finally truly happened. I have become my parents, and the people that I thought used to look old no longer look old. They just look young because they look my age, and I'm just like, this is it. And the same way as I'm looking at all those people, and they all used to be old, in a couple years from now, the same way as we look at people that used to be our grandparents, we're going to be their age, and time comes at you quick. And as you get older, you realize how important time is. So Katie says, oh man, if Pokemon Go had that Tamagotchi element with the Pokemon you caught, it would have kept so many people more. Yeah, definitely. Because then you could also do expansions too. Because at that point, you could just play a game with unlimited regions, whether it's Kanto or Johto or Hoenn or Sinnoh or Nova Kalos. What's the... Alola? Yeah, I think I've got them in order. Don't remember. But I think that's right. But yeah, if you could just do that and just keep adding all the different regions, you know, that's huge. You could just have that game go on forever with like this, you know, downloadable element to it. And it would, yeah, definitely have kept people very engaged in Pokemon Go for much longer. Let's see. But yeah, good to see you, Pokemon Classics. I haven't had a chance to watch your most recent video. I'm going to watch that tonight. So I saw recently today, Pokemon Classics put out a card talking about card altering, and I can't wait to watch that. Unfortunately, Pokemon Classics, I can't watch your videos until I put the kids to bed, because there's a lot of videos that exist out there where I could just put my headphones in, put my phone in my pocket and just go about my normal day listening to a video. Unfortunately, Pokemon Classics video are not those type of videos. His are the very, very few that I have to sit down and watch the video because Pokemon Classics editing so fantastic. But I am very interested to hear your take on the whole altering cards and especially the whole cleaning, especially polishing, waxing, whatever you want to call it. Because I know that has become very recently like a very, very hot debated point in this hobby right now. Let's see. PA Pokemon Poll says, I sent my CGC 9 Moonbreon the PSA for a possible cross grade to a 10. It didn't cross over, so I sold it for $800. How did I do? PA Pokemon Polls. Unfortunately, you sent it. All right. I don't like crossover grades. If you're going to send a CGC 9 Moonbreon, you gotta crack it out and send it raw. Unfortunately, once PSA sees that 9, they're very, very unlikely to cross it over. And if it was a strong CGC 9, which means in a worst case scenario, you're going to get a PSA 9, that PSA 9 still probably sells for a premium over a CGC 9. So if I were you, I would have went for the big play and just total crack out and not a cross grade. Unfortunately, cross grading really never works. I have a few WotC 10s and I've like only one of them is really, really clean that I've always thought about like doing a crossover grade to Beckett, and that's the only time I would ever consider sending the card for the true crossover in the slab if it is already a PSA 10 and you're trying to go for like a Beckett 10. That's the only time I would ever do that. But it's just so rare that people even try to do that, So Hacksack said, PK Baby, how different do you think the single and sealed market for Scarlet and Violet era would be right now if they maintain the alt-art pull rates for the... Ooh, that's a good question. For the Sword and Shield era. It's hard to say, man. I think the problem with the price disparity right now between Scarlet and Violet and the good alt-arts in the sets is, unfortunately, just Scarlet and Violet print quality for so many sets has been it's been trash. I mean, you look at the PSA 10 pops and you look at, for a lot of Sword and Shield stuff, Moonbrown being a good example, you have about an 80%, Gem Mint 10 rate. So more or less blindfold, you get 10 pack fresh cards, you send them blindfolded, you're probably going to get like between a 70 to 80% 10 rate. For some of the Scarlet and Violet stuff, we're seeing 10 rates like sub 50%. Sub 50% is abysmal. That brings you back to like Burning Shadows type print quality. Scarlet and Violet has been really, really rough. And that's one of the reasons we've seen cards just like, even like the Magikarp and stuff, just having these huge 10 premiums right now because they're just so hard to grade right now. Hopefully, I want to say hopefully Pokemon figures it out and gets a print quality back up. That is a conversation I've been saying forever now. IDK, been a member for 2 months. Appreciate you being a member for 2 months. IDK said, Pikachu is the mascot, Raichu is not. Unfortunately, that is true, but Raichu is goated. So, Wreck-It Roush, I like that name, he says, the Pokemon Go set is actually what got him back into the hobby, and it's also the first set I ever completed. I know most people hate the set, but I'll always enjoy it. Oh, no. Listen, the same way as I say all alt-arts are great. I mean, Pokemon Go, super, super slept on right now. I mean, there you go. There you go, right there on the screen. There are 2 Pokemon Go like hits right there. You could pick both of these cards up for a while. I don't know what the prices have gone up to right now, but you could pick up both of these cards for a while for right around between $20 to $25 for both of them combined. That's not one of these cards. That's not just one of them for $25. You could pick both of them up for $25. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, I think the Mewtwo I spent $15 on very recently at a card shop. I was able to sit there, pre-grade it, look great. And the Radiant Charizard, I think I spent like $5 on, so $20. It wasn't even $25, but yeah, great buying opportunities. I don't hate the Pokemon Go set as much as a lot of people do, and for a while too, you could pick up Pokemon Go packs for as cheap as $2. I mean, $2 is cheap Pokemon packs. I think even Pokemon Go single packs have actually gone up pretty recently. Let's see. So Brown CLM said, thoughts on Pokemon Center holding back some of the sets just to put the better accepted sets into new products so it sells fast. Lots of evolving skies in the wild right now. I don't know if I mean, obviously Pokemon Center is holding some stuff back. I don't know if it's just an inventory issue on Pokemon Center's behalf. Like, a good example of that would be Vivid Voltage booster boxes. We saw those Vivid Voltage booster boxes go back up on Pokemon Center. Kind of a weird thing that happened. Now, holding some stuff back, like a lot of the Scarlet and Violet stuff, like I think we saw, like, what was it? Paldea Evolved went out of stock, and another Scarlet and Violet set went. Maybe Paradox Rift, I don't remember. But for those sets to go out of stock on PokemonCenter.com, their MSRP prices for $163, and you could pick up those same sets on eBay for like $100. So I do think that is PokemonCenter.com purposely pulling those boxes back, and I don't really know why, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think people are out there actually paying MSRP on PokemonCenter.com for the newest Scarlet and Violet sets. Now, there's definitely a few people out there that do that, but I don't think there's enough demand to absorb all those, so I think that maybe they are pulling back some of those booster boxes and maybe just breaking them up and put them in products and trying to sell them that way, because I just don't see the sell-through rate possibly being there at that 163 MSRP. It has to be going somewhere else. So Katie said, hot take, but so many people hated on both the pre-release Raichu until Rusty bought one. Isn't it funny how that works? Real quick, Nikigo says, what an era we're in now. I appreciate the super chat. He says, what an era we're in now. You could stumble and still profit in Sword and Shield. Thanks for all the great info. Yeah, it's wild. I said it at the beginning of this video. If you have somehow lost money in Pokemon in the last couple months, what are you doing? Let me know down in the comments below. What could you be doing that you have somehow lost money? Unless you're the one person out there, you're like, oh, PK thought nobody's buying Scarlet and Violet booster boxes at MSRP. Well, joke's on him. I'll show him how I lost money. With the exception, if you're not that person, like, how are you losing money in Pokemon right now? And it's really, really hard to deny how strong this market is right now. It's just, yeah. So if I see some people just joining the chat now, I appreciate you guys for a last second live. We've got 108 people real time for this. Really appreciate it. But if you guys don't know, again, I'm going to mention again, tomorrow, that's 5/6, it's a Monday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nat Turner, President and CEO of Collectors, the parent company of PSA, will be on this channel. We're going to be talking about eBay Vault. We're going to be going through a lot of stuff. So that is going to be a really, really fun live. Let's see. Pokemon Classic says, you go in the card party, asking Basic Trainer. If so, we need to connect again. So yeah, Basic Trainer, are you going to card party? I will not be going, unfortunately. One, never got an invite. Number two, I think it would be really hard to get away with leaving on Father's Day weekend. So Arthur Meredith says, I should probably make an alias YouTube username, but I have no fear. Pokemon is a cash cow and he's not ashamed. Yes. Let's see how long this cash cow keeps on going. Snowy with the $2 super chat. I appreciate it, buddy. Says 400 Lugia V finally getting its roses. Lugia V is up. Lugia criminally undervalued for a long time. I don't know if, like, one of the reasons that Lugia V was just being held down was because of the Silver Tempest God packs. I know from the Silver Tempest God packs that a lot of those Lugia alts were open, so I'm sure it had like a little bit of effect on the market, but it was very, very minuscule in the overall grand scheme of this hobby. But it definitely probably had a little bit of a pullback. Now, Lugia V, super criminally undervalued. Another card that's super criminally undervalued is definitely the Charizard V from Brilliant Stars. I talked about it in like my most recent video, my previous video before that. Love that card. Brilliant Stars is going to start ticking up in price. I bet we see that Charizard V start to tick back up. I mean, I'm curious, like Crown Zenith too. Crown Zenith is one of those sets that have been on my radar, especially not just for the sealed product, but for the singles, because I think we're definitely moving out of any reprint window for Crown Zenith. If any specialty set right now today is going to get reprinted, I think more likely than not it's going to be 151. So I think Crown Zenith is, again, in that rearview mirror. It's getting further and further away in the distance, and looking at some of those alt arts, especially when you talk about the Palkia, Dialga, Arceus. I mean, they were a lot of those cards for how tough those pull rates were pretty low, especially like the Mewtwo, the alternate art view of you got the Charizard UPC Charizard, but then the Mewtwo, you got the Mewtwo's vantage point with that Mewtwo fighting the Charizard, and then just obviously the Pikachu secret rare in Crown Zenith, and just the Entei. There's the Suicune. There's so many good cards in Crown Zenith right now. I think that was one of the problems with Crown Zenith. Is one of the reasons that a lot of prices were really kept down was because it was such a massive set with so many good hits on it that people kind of were like, where do I want to park my money? It's like, that's one of the reasons I really love Crown Zenith, and one of the reasons that I recommended to people probably about a few months back to, if you don't own one case of Crown Zenith ETBs, I recommend you picking them up. I think at the time I was recommending it. ETB cases were selling for like $320, so that's $32 per ETB. And I felt that, and it was right after the most recent reprint of Crown Zenith that I made that video. So we really saw a lot of those prices hit what I considered to be price floors. But the reason why I like Crown Zenith, the reason why I said I thought it was a good price pickup at $320 a case is, one, you're getting pretty close to, distributing price and on the secondary market. But more importantly, I thought in the future that Crown Zenith would have what I consider that X factor of Pokemon, and that X factor when I think of future value partially is that pack opening experience. And Crown Zenith has a amazing pack opening experience because, like I said, it seems like every time you open a pack, you get a hit. And especially if you're opening up an ETB, one of the things with Crown Zenith, you get to look forward to multiple good hits from one Crown Zenith ETB. Now, when I looked at a lot of those individual prices for cards, a lot of good buying opportunities. That secret rare Pikachu, which I mentioned like just 2 minutes ago when I was talking about it, there was a while that secret rare Pikachu was selling for like $6, $8. It's a sub $10 card. And that is the secret rare of the set. And when you look at that same Pikachu in Japanese, obviously it comes out of the Precious Collection box. Ridiculous price points for that. But in English, obviously in Crown Zenith, there was a lot of them, but that card, it's criminally undervalued too. So, anyways, Wes Bragg said he pulled the Altart Lugia V, sold it for around 100. It was raw and ungraded, but it looked like a PSA 10 candidate. Kinda lost on that, but I knew it would go up. Needed the money is why I sold it. And that's the thing too, is when is the best time to sell too? Best time to sell is if you really need the money. I'm going to let everybody know right now. If you are buying a bunch of Pokemon and you're just putting on credit cards and you're paying that credit card interest rate month after month, that is just going to be when I tell you to start to sell some stuff. Get yourself to where you're in a good financial position. I don't know what everyone's financial position is going to be, and only you can make that decision for yourself. Just put yourself in a position where you think you're in a good financial position. And if you are in that position, then once you get there, then I would recommend you right now, take your foot off the gas and stop selling stuff. And if you're watching this video right now and you're like, no, PK, I am currently in a fantastic financial position. My recommendation to you when the title of this video is when's the best time to sell your modern Pokemon cards, for you, if you are in a fantastic financial position right now today and you are very liquid and you have good buying capabilities and you got nothing on credit cards, you got no debt, nothing, For you, my recommendation is going to be to hold off and don't sell anything and kind of just let the market do the market stuff. If stuff decreases a little bit in price, you're going to probably lose out on, 30, 40%, and it's going to suck. But if stuff does really good, you could be making 30, 40, 50%, hell, 100% on some of this product, which I think is, it's weird. And this is the hardest part of making videos like this, is because even though I just told you that a lot of things have recently had huge rebounds or at huge price increases, like the crazy thing is right now, I think a lot of the stuff in this hobby right now is still currently undervalued. And I know that is a ridiculous sentence to say, because usually when you have huge price increases, one of the things you expect to happen is price corrections. And that is just like a yin and a yang to that. Can't have one without the other. You can't have huge price increases without market corrections. But right now, I don't think we're going to see a lot of market corrections in the very, very near term. I think we still got a little bit of room for growth for a lot of this stuff. And that's why, for me, a lot of what I'm doing is just kind of sitting back and watching this market and just loving it. Loving the time we are in Pokemon. But yes, guys, listen, made it to the bottom of the chat. Appreciate every single one of you. 120 people tuned in. Not enough likes. Do me a favor, hit that like button. But again, tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is May 6th, it's a Monday, Nat Turner, the CEO of Collectors, parent company of PSA, will be on to talk eBay Vault. We could really get to pick his brain and hear a lot of his thoughts. But as always, guys, listen, I know your time is valuable, and thank you so much for doing me the most gracious of favors and donating to me your time. I know it's so valuable, and I cannot thank you enough for that. And I truly appreciate every single one of you that tune into this video week after week. Especially special shout out, as always, #1 mod in the game, Drew. You are truly the best out there. For everybody else out there, appreciate you, and I'll catch you tomorrow with Nat Turner. Later, guys.